Thank you for joining us. We're going to discuss the COVID Economic Injury Disaster Loan and Grant Assistance. We're going to talk about grants, loans, eligibility, key terms, use cases, and key timing considerations. Let me give you a hint there. Apply now. Apply now. That's the only key timing consideration you need to be aware of, and we're going to go through that form, the form that you use to apply. So, before we do that, let me tell you a little bit about the people who are on the call and presenting. I'm in the middle there, William Mike Cunningham. I'm an economist. We're also fortunate to have Keevan Kimball from KBK Consulting Group. He also serves as the DC Bureau Chief for SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. That was the group founded by Martin Luther King. He's their DC representative. And Howie Hodges, whom I've known for at least 20 years now, who is a top-level business strategy and public policy consultant, bon vivant, man about town in Washington, D.C. If you guys want to take a second, Keevan and Howie, why don't we start with you, Keevan, and just introduce yourselves quickly. We'll move on.
Oh, thanks a lot, Bill, and thanks for hosting this and having me on. I'm with KBK Consulting. We do a lot of third-party and economic advocacy work on behalf of underserved communities. SCLC is one of my clients. So I'm their bureau chief. And then we also work with Financial Services Innovation Coalition and several other groups, about 30 groups around the country, developing policy issues or policy solutions for underserved communities. So this is a big deal. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Mr. Hodges?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Howie Hodges, and my company, CH Hodges, Inc., 18-year-old firm, and we specialize in providing advisory work to banks, financial institutions, and technology companies. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. My background is banking as well as technology. Many years ago, I ran the small business loan program and the small business lending division for the entire Southeast for Bank of America. And also in that capacity, I managed Bank of America's community development and government affairs teams. And so my background with business, particularly small business, goes back quite a ways. And then currently I'm providing a number of clients, primarily large scale opportunity zone investment funds with strategy and government relations help as they look to build out their developments within the communities that they're looking to serve.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I want to thank you two guys for joining on such short notice. We put this thing together, I think, over the course of the last 2 days or so. So thank you for your flexibility. Now let's get started. Now, in terms of the agenda, we're going to talk about the SBA loan and grant programs. We're going to pull up the application. I'm going to fill it out for you really quickly. Then I've asked Keevan to talk about something that's particularly vexing for Black-owned firms and for minority firms in general as they approach the SBA, what to do if you don't get funded. And then we're going to open it up. I suppose I'll just unmute everybody and we'll probably just open it up for Q&A, a little Q&A. And again, we want to make this quick. We want to spend about 30 to 45 minutes total here. We really aren't trying to make this a very long session. So, now the CARES Act is the act that provided the $2.2 trillion. This is a slide from Peterson Foundation, which shows in general what's in the act. Again, if you want a copy of this presentation, we'll send it out. What's important here to note is that there are a number of different pockets of money for small businesses, unemployment benefits. This is the one where the $1,200 payments are included. They've included $150 billion in financial aid for hospitals, and then of course, the $380 billion for small businesses, $300 billion for various tax incentives, and the expansion of unemployment benefits also. So there's a lot to this bill. I would encourage you guys, I know that, our client base tends to be pretty literate. So I would encourage you to actually download a copy of the bill and go through it. It is, what is it, 880 pages, Howie? I think it's about that. But most of it is gobbledygook. Most of it is that legislative stuff, modify this past law. So this is what's in the CARES Act. Let's move on here. Now, in terms of the specific buckets, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on here. Everybody knows that they promised $1,200 or $2,400 to individuals with an adjusted gross income of up to $75,000, $150,000 for married couples, and they're going to give you an additional $500 per child. Number two, the Paycheck Protection Program. That is the small business sole proprietor, independent contractor, and self-employed individual loan program. It is a bank loan. To get that, you have to apply through a bank. And Howie, since this is your area, let me ask you to say a couple of words about this.
Yeah, this program is available for businesses with 500 or fewer employees to help with payroll, rent, utilities, healthcare, and more. And so the part of the thing that is important in terms of having your toolkit ready, I would say the following: make certain that you have the following 4 items available before you apply. And it's not that you're going to need it as you go through the application necessarily, but afterward, the SBA has asked many of the banks to basically verify this information prior to processing or as part of the processing. And so your 2019 payroll, including the last 12 months of payroll, you want to have your the number of employees, 1099s for 2019 employees, as well as independent contractors that would otherwise be employees. And then healthcare costs, all of your health insurance premiums paid by the business over or under a group healthcare plan. And then lastly, what type of retirement, if you had a retirement program for your business, how much funding did you put into that plan? And so the thing to note is that, I got a note from my bank. I bank at Bank of America, and they indicated that, this program is going to have lots of applications. And so timing is of the essence in terms of applying. And remember, the banks will be doing a lot of the back end processing for this on behalf of the SBA. And so my advice would be, go to the business bank where you have the relationship with. And if you don't have a relationship with a bank, just pick a large one. I'm just saying primarily a large one that's in your area and apply through them.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Howie. Moving on to item 3, this is the one that we want to focus on, the Emergency Economic Injury Grants. And what they've done is they've allocated $10 billion in total to provide advance grants of $10,000 maximum to small businesses and to nonprofits. And this is being done through the SBA, as opposed to the program that Howie just described. This $10,000 grant program is on a first come, first served basis, and it's being managed and applied. We'll go through the application, but it's being administered by the SBA. So again, if you have not applied for this, we will give you the link and we will go through the application form itself, but please, please, please apply for this right now. When we show you the link, if you want to click off of this call and go and apply, I won't be mad at you. This is just a huge, huge opportunity, especially for African-American owned firms and for minority firms, to get money from an agency which does not have the best track record of getting money to you, So the other thing that we want, and Kevin will talk about this a little later, we want to track this. We want to hear and we want to see who's getting what from this particular program. We think it's going to be fantastic. Obviously, $10 billion. There are 30 million small businesses in the country. If they gave the maximum to each, that would mean that only 1 million companies would get the $10,000. So there'd be 29 million who would not get the money. We don't think they're going to do it that way. We think they're going to break it up. Some companies will get $1,000, some will get $2,500, some will get $5,000. So they're going to spread it out. I would guesstimate at this point, they're going to probably try to get money. Let's say 10 million small businesses apply, because not all small businesses will apply, but they're going to try to get money to all of those guys. Again, the issue is their administrative capability and their positioning to be able to get the money to you. One of the things you should note in the application that we will go over is that they ask you for your bank routing number and bank account, which indicates that they want to drop this money directly into your account, which I think is brilliant. The only thing that would be better would be, of course, if they were to use Bitcoin to actually get this done. I see Kevin smiling because that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. He always tells me not to mention Bitcoin, but yeah, or PayPal or Venmo. And actually, one of the things that we've heard today is that the IRS is looking at, and the Fed are looking at using Venmo and PayPal as part of their distribution mechanism. We take credit for that, because I said that in an editorial that I wrote in Black Enterprise. Anyway, they have to. They have to. This is the best way to get this money to people. All right, other provisions, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that they have provides unemployment benefits to individuals who would not normally qualify for regular unemployment compensation. Take a look at that. And of course, something that is fully within their power, delaying the payment of employer payroll taxes. So net, a very good piece of legislation designed to really fill the gap in what are extraordinary times. All right, so drilling down a little deeper on this disaster loan and grant program, part of our task here, we want to make sure that you know what the details are about this, because a lot of people are getting $1,200 confused with the Paycheck Protection Program, confused with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So the SBA Disaster Program is something that's already in place. It's their primary form of disaster assistance. It's the only form of SBA assistance that is not limited to small businesses. So it's perfect for this task if they can get this done right. So again, I'm breaking stuff up here, okay? The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is a loan program that is carried out through SBA. There you can get up to $2 million for small businesses or nonprofits as a result of declared disasters, floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, that sort of thing. So $2 million through that program. Now, the general requirement is that your business must have sustained economic injury and be located in a disaster declared county or contiguous county. For the loan program, again, you can borrow up to $2 million. There are no upfront fees or early payment penalties. The repayment terms, which can go out to 30 years, by the way, will be determined based on your ability to repay the loan. Now, let's get to what I'm so excited about, the $10,000 grant program. So what happens is you apply to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. As you will see on the form, there is a part of the form that actually asks you if you want to be considered for the $10,000 grant program. Here's my advice to you. Check yes, check yes. It's not really complicated. So we'll show you that part. SBA, this is it. The SBA Disaster Loan Assistance Application. We're going to run through this in about 5 minutes and just going to point out some things that you need to know. Howie, feel free to jump in at the lines that you had indicated in our run through that you wanted to highlight. So this is at COVID-19 relief.sba.gov, COVID-19 relief.sba.gov. By the way, can everybody see this? Raise your hand if you see this. All right, very good. So this is a streamlined process. And basically, so you start here by verifying your entity. You're a business with not more than 500 employees. You operate as a sole proprietor. You are a cooperative with not more than 500 employees. You're an ESOP, tribal small business concern, so on and so forth. I've checked sole proprietorship. And then you have to certify that you're not engaged in any illegal activities, that, let's see, you're not delinquent on child support, that you're not a farm, that you don't present live performances of a prurient sexual nature, which actually last year would have kicked me out of this thing, but we stopped that. So, and then that you're also, you're not deriving more than 1/3 from legal gambling operations. You're not a lobbyist, and you're not a state or local municipal government entity. So then you come into the actual form side. So you put in your business name, your EIN, or your social security number. I'm just going to make up some numbers here.
Hey, Bill, as you're doing this, one of the things that we're recommending to anyone that's filling out these forms is have all your business information available. Your checklist should include, you need to know what your business tax ID number is. You need to have your business checking account number, as well as bank routing number. You need to have the revenues for your business for a period. And it's very interesting. It's not year end. It is from the last 12 months. So they're looking at January basically to January 31st, 2020. So don't just cut off the month of January. They want to know all the way through January. And this, I think, is going to catch a couple of people, as well as your cost of goods during that period as well.
Which we're right on that line. So cost of goods sold is, of course, if you're selling widgets, you buy widgets for $5, you sell widgets for $10, your cost of goods sold is $5 per widget. For people who are manufacturing goods and that sort of thing, you're going to have a cost of goods sold. For most service businesses, your cost of goods sold is going to be very, very de minimis. So we're going to put in 15 grand there. Now, there are a couple of lines here that I want to point out. Rental properties, lost rents due to the disaster. It's not going to apply to most people. Here is the next line that I want you to be very careful about. They've got this line in with the rest of the form, but it's cost of operations for nonprofits. So if you're a nonprofit, you wouldn't fill out the gross revenue or the cost of goods sold. You'd come right down here and put in your cost of operations. And then, as with this next line, combine annual operating expenses for 12 months prior to January 31st, 2020. This is for faith-based entities. So unless you're a faith-based entity, do not fill this line out. I'm convinced these three lines are going to trip up a lot of people. Don't put anything in there unless you're an actual faith-based entity. Same thing with the next line. List the secular social services provided by the faith-based entity. Now we go back to a line item that is applicable to all businesses and nonprofits. Compensation from other sources received as a result of the disaster. So some other group, let's say, you know what a good example is here? Let's say right after the disaster, you ran a GoFundMe campaign or something like that. You'd put that compensation in there. Let's assume that I ran a GoFundMe campaign and I raised $15,000 and provide a brief description. GoFundMe, okay? Then we're moving on to the address side. Put your primary business address in there, the phone number, a lot of the little things you want to be careful about so that you're not tripped up. So type in your phone number. If you have an alternate business phone, does anybody still have business faxes? I don't know, I don't. But if you have one, put it in there. Date the business was established. In my case, it was 12/31/1989. Current ownership from that date, 12/31/1989, and business activity. So the drop down is going to give you a bunch of different categories. They may not be exact to what you're doing. Just look for one that most closely aligns to what you're doing. Here I've got business services. That doesn't really account for what we're doing. So I'm going to say none of the below because they didn't have a business services economist category. Now moving to the last line on this page, number of employees. I would include in that part-timers, contractors, full-timers, and interns. So I'm going to say 5 because I actually have 4 interns. They're scattered in the wind, including Jaleel, who's on. There you go. Thank you, sir. So I'm going to say 5. I would include everybody. All right. And then business ownership, owner's information. Is your business owned by another business entity? Are you independent? Or are you owned by somebody else? I would say no there. The individual owner is me. Again, got to enter that valid phone number. My title, owner. Ownership percent, 100. Social security number. I'm just going to make some stuff up here. 999-99-99999. Okay. Birth date, same here. I'm going to make up some stuff. 1619. Let's say 66. There we go. Place of birth, Washington, D.C. And again, I'd go through this stuff. U.S. citizen, yes. Residential, we'll just leave that in there. If you have other owners, click on this box. It will add additional lines where you can list the other owners of the business. If not, if it's a sole proprietorship and you're the 100% owner, click on next and just let's keep going here. They're asking for more social and other, what do you call this? Social
demographic.
Have you been demographic information? Have you been convicted? Are you currently suspended or debarred? Are you subject to an indictment? That sort of thing. No, no, no. If anybody assisted you with this application, whether you pay a fee or not, you have to list the person there. Nobody assisted me. And this is the box I was talking about. Can everybody see that box? I would like to be considered for an advance of up to $10,000. Check yes. Check yes. This is what we've been waiting for. And then, of course, they are asking for your bank information. Where do you want us to send the money? Fill in your account number and get the routing number. If you're, let's say you bank with Bank of America in Washington, D.C., Google routing number, Bank of America, Washington, D.C. It'll show up in the search results. So just put that in there. I hope that works.
And that information is
Alright.
also available on the bottom of your corporate checks if you still use corporate checks.
Excellent, excellent. So then, of course, you certify that the information is correct. This is the end of the form. I'm not going to press next because, you know, this would go in. But again, the things that we wanted to point out, this line right here, I would like to be considered for an advance of up to $10,000. Now, you are eligible to get the advance even if you are not approved for a loan. That's one of the amazing parts of this program. So this is the line that we wanted you to see. That's it.
Yeah, Bill, I
Yep.
just want to comment. So this is a really big part. Is that it's two elements. The loan element is, again, low interest rate loan, and then the grant portion is that everyone will be considered and should be eligible for the grant. The grant is exactly what it sounds like. It's no repayment. You will not have any obligation to repay any of those funds if you are given the grant.
It's absolutely brilliant. And again, you know that people are, we've already seen it. If you Google this program on YouTube, there are probably 40 or 50 videos that I went through. I didn't look at them all, but I was just trying to see what was out there. So the word is out on this. Your time is limited. Again, if you wanted to click off this call and go to this website and fill this out, I wouldn't be mad at you. Just make sure that, as Howie indicated, you've got a checklist. You now know what type of information you're going to need, your gross revenue, your cost of goods sold, other expense information, just baseline expense information. That's what's so brilliant about this. This is the Uberization of the SBA program, in the sense that the prior assumptions about loan programs was that everybody was a crook and everybody was trying to steal stuff. And with this crisis, now we're at a situation like Uber, like Airbnb, the government is going to see, just how good people are. And I think this will work out very well. So let me get off my soapbox there. All right, and we're back to the slideshow. So that was it. This is the website, covid19relief.sba.gov. Go there right now. Now, this is something that I got from the SBA after I applied. I applied using the paper form the day that they posted this thing. $10,000 available even if your loan application was declined or is still pending and will be forgiven. So we just walked you through how to get that. So, so now one of the things, Kevin, I know that you were interested in jumping in on. So you go through all of this stuff. You're a Black-owned business or a minority business. You don't get funded. What do you do then, Kevin?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is, one, try to reach out to the SBA if you can, and see what their helpline looks like. Secondly, I think you need to report back to your members of Congress. I'm encouraging everyone to send a casework application or create a casework application with their member of Congress if they don't get it, because Congress needs to follow through with this. SBA has a horrible record of helping minority businesses. It would have not been my first choice of a way to move money to these lower income businesses or disadvantaged businesses. So we need to follow through. And how you've worked at SBA, so I'll ask you this question. SBA has its own set of rules, and then of course there's regional differences, et cetera, in SBA. How do you suggest people make sure they're getting a fair shake in this process?
The main thing is just following the instructions on the application, because one of the things that will happen, I believe, is that the SBA, in an effort to kind of get this money out quickly, they don't have the staff to basically do the review. So they're going to, I think, in some cases, outsource some of their at least initial scanning. It's almost like a Google word search, is that if your name and your information is not in the correct place, that application is going to get sent over to a hand review file. And so make certain that you have all that checklist of your business records in hand. And then go to your local SBA office. That's the first portal of entry. If you're located in Washington, D.C., the Washington, D.C. district office for the Small Business Administration is the best local place to start, particularly for this application.
Okay. Yeah. So Bill, you know how I feel about this. I think that at the end of the day, we've seen, you and I both talked about this and spoke on it. Historically, SBA has just not been a great resource for minority businesses. So in this case, where they're supposed to be moving money very quickly, we want to keep track of how true that is, and how equally it's distributed. And so that's one of, as SCLC, Dr. Steele wrote a letter to Congress, with this very concern, and he actually was an article published in the Chicago Defender about this. That is, we go through this process, make sure that minority businesses are equally treated or treated as fair as possible in the process. So that's my number one concern. If you come across, let's say, after you go to your member of Congress, if you haven't gotten help, if SBA doesn't help you and your member of Congress doesn't help you, because this money is supposed to be spent. But as Bill said, there's 30 million businesses and only not enough money to go around. So you want to make sure that you've pushed all the buttons and been as squeaky of a wheel as you can in this process. And then if that doesn't work, feel free to reach out to like SCLC or or NAACP or Urban League, reach out to the people on the ground in your communities, because that's very important, that people know that things aren't going the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, thank you, both Kevin and Hallie. One thing I also neglected to mention, as you fill out that application, take screen captures of what you have submitted. I think the last page is a review of the application. Make sure you keep a copy of what you've submitted to the SBA, just in case you make a mistake or are there any questions or they say, hey, we didn't. They were actually pretty good. I should pull up the confirmation that I got from them. They were pretty good at sending a confirm right away that said that we got your application. So, we're willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on this, given the nature of the emergency that the country faces. We just want to make sure that the money is distributed as broadly as possible. So, having said that, thank you. I like this little graphic. We are not about fear. Fear pushes in on you. It's all about, yourself and looking at what faith is outward leaning. It's like a candle. A candle provides light out of itself. I don't know what the candle analogy is for fear, but this is kind of my perspective and my viewpoint as to where we are. I've got faith. I've got faith in the people on this call and millions of other people in this country. So if you have questions or comments, info@creativeinvest.com, info@creativeinvest.com. Just email me.